you have your Bibles this morning, turn with me to the book of Jeremiah. In the book of Jeremiah, the prophet, traditionally he's been called the weeping prophet. Jeremiah didn't have the task to be the bearer of good news. God didn't ask Jeremiah to always go to the people and inform them that he's coming with gifts. Jeremiah wasn't a herald telling everybody, God's coming tomorrow and he's going to bring us all blessings and gifts. That wasn't his task. Jeremiah would tell the people that judgment is coming. Jeremiah had the awesome task to tell the people that bondage is coming, that the wrath of God is real, and he will show us. But in that, God would speak to Jeremiah, and he would tell Jeremiah what to say. He would even help Jeremiah understand why things would have to be the way that they would be. But also within every prophecy still, there was the love of God. Because God wanted Jeremiah to understand, though this may hurt, still, I'm a God of blessing. Though this may be painful, still there is blessing in it. In this particular narrative, God is telling Jeremiah, I want you to go see somebody. And in the person that you see, I want you to see me. And I want you to see the nation. And I want you to see how I deal with them. Last week we talked about this is a new season. It's a new season. It is a new realm of experience with God. Things don't look the way they used to look. Things don't feel the way they used to feel. But God is in this new season. It's a time of transition. And as you are in transition, as this congregation is in transition, God is with us. In the 18th chapter of Jeremiah, felt like there's some words here that could speak to us while we find ourselves in the midst of change and transition. It says, this is the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Go down to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message. So I went down to the potter's house, and I saw him working at the wheel. But the pot he was shaping from the clay was marred in his hands. So the potter formed it into another pot, shaping it as seemed best to him. Then the word of the Lord came to me. He said, can I not do with you, Israel, as this potter does? Like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hands, Israel. I want to talk this morning from this thought, life with the potter. Life with the potter. I remember when I was in third grade, I had an art teacher named Miss Hickey. We had a unit on pottery. I didn't know what God was doing then. I just thought we were playing with clay, playing with the potter's wheel. But now that I'm a little bit older, every time I read this passage, every time I preach this text, I can't help but go back to my first time feeling clay spinning in my hands. I remember just how fun it was then to be able to manipulate the clay and form and shape it into something that I desired. But as I now appreciate art and all of that there is really no such thing as perfection in human experience. You'll never be able to achieve perfection. You will never be perfect. And therefore, It's okay. But how many times have we found ourselves too hard on ourselves or someone else because we did not see perfection? But when we understand, especially in pottery, perfection isn't necessarily the goal. Because anything that is formed and fashioned and made by humans can't help but be flawed. Jeremiah is commissioned by God to forewarn Judah, and God sends Jeremiah to the potter's house so that Jeremiah could see. He could see God through the work of the potter. Jeremiah is peeking in and is watching the potter and realizes that there is one vessel that the potter makes and there's some trouble with it. And the potter simply makes another one. This morning, church, I want us to think about the potter and the clay. Obviously, God is the potter and we are the clay. I want you to think about your life in the potter's hands. And let's walk through some things about that journey. Let's think about your own life. Let's see what God could be saying to us as we find ourselves in a new season in the midst of transition. That we see here a picture of our own relationship with God. We see a picture of the activity that's happening between us and God. Are you praying with me? That life with the potter, one of the things that stands out here, the first point is this, that it is the potter who does the shaping. The potter does the shaping. I'll say it again. The potter does the shaping. Jeremiah said, when I looked in, I saw him working at the wheel, but the pot he was shaping. We are nothing but clay. We're without form. We're void. We're dirt. We're dust. When God created man, God scooped dirt from the ground. Dirt that he had created. And God fashioned or made a man, created a man after his own likeness and image. And would breathe the breath of life into it. I can never become a shapely vessel of value without God. I don't care what your dream is and vision is for your life. You cannot achieve it apart from God. I don't care what your vision is right now. No matter the season of your life, everybody's got a picture. You've got a desired outcome. You've got a desired end for your life. And you'll never get there apart from him. There's no such thing as a self-made man. There's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. There's no such thing as self-made. If anything, you are a self-made sinner. You are self-made outside of the will of God. What we create are messes. What God creates are masterpieces. And therefore, you don't have the ability to change and manipulate circumstances so that it always works out for your good. That's God's job. The word says that God works in all things for the good of those whom he loves and who are called according to his purposes. And so therefore, for you to think that you can fix this and make this, it is an exercise in futility. That right now, there's somebody now, and you got your 10-day, your 20-day, your 30-day, your 1 month, your 5-year plan all mapped out and laid out. You got it all set up down to the very second, as if you have the power to control what's going to happen in your life. But James says that if it be the Lord's will, We will do this and do that. Therefore, who am I to say what I'm going to be and what I'm going to do? And then I can waste all of my time and energy trying to be somebody God never intended for me to be. All day long, I could say that I know I'm going to be 7 feet tall. And I'm going to be center for the Dallas Mavericks or the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to dominate, and the Lord knows that I'll never be 1 centimeter over 5'9". So what do I look like going out buying size 17 shoes? Going and shopping in big and tall stores. 40 years old saying, I got a growth spurt coming. We cannot change. We don't change ourselves, and we don't make ourselves. We don't fashion ourselves. We are in the hands of the potter. And it is the potter who does the shaping. It is the potter who does the forming. It is the potter who does the fashioning. It is the potter who is able to change and manipulate circumstances in our lives. And you know what? That is a good thing. Because the last time I checked, when I tried to change some stuff, all I did was make a mess. And I'll be the first to admit that I've made a few messes in my life. I have made some messes in my life. I have messed up some people. I have messed up some chances. I have messed up some opportunities because I got in the way trying to do what I had no business doing. Anybody been there before? Anybody been there? Anybody been beaten down by you trying to do some stuff you shouldn't have been doing? Trying to be somebody you know you can't be? Trying to walk in a way you know you can't walk? But God is the potter, and the potter does the shaping. In fact, and as God does the shaping, God doesn't treat you like you are on an assembly line. He's not going to shape you to look like somebody else. God's not going to shape you to act like somebody else. When God is shaping you, he's thinking only about you. God has you on his mind. God is tailor-making you. There is no mold that you come out of. The only mold there is his likeness and his image. And so nobody knows what God looks like, but when we see each other, we ought to see a piece of him. God is the one who's moving in your life, and therefore when he's shaping you, he knows what you need. Don't try to fight him. Don't try to fight against him. Don't try to block him. Don't try to stop it, because he never gets it wrong. If it doesn't fit, it's not because he chose the wrong shape for you. But then there's something else here. The potter does the shaping, but listen, shaping is a process. We live in an age where efficiency is highly appreciated. The industrial world was revolutionized by mass production. Things are very seldom are things made individually now. Everything is spit out by some kind of machine on an assembly line. But if it's handmade, it costs some money. Efficiency is at an all-time value. Nobody is willing to wait for somebody to make one thing and to make it with perfection, one thing at a time. But what Jeremiah saw between the potter and the clay was that the shaping indeed was a process. The potter didn't go and pull a bunch of stuff off the shelf and slap it together and spit something out, but he kept his hands on the clay. No vessel becomes one on its own. Clay will always be nothing but clay without shaping. Never be a vessel. And that's what is beautiful about this story, is that when God sees you as clay, he's also ready to make you into something else. And therefore, here Jeremiah said that he saw the potter shaping the vessel. Shaping is the active role that is played determining the final outcome. In the shaping, God has to make changes because what he's changing is necessary so that he gets the desired outcome. In the shaping, God has to remove. And when he removes, sometimes that hurts. In the shaping, sometimes God has to stretch. And we know that stretching hurts. In the shaping, sometimes God has to flatten, has to press down, and the pressing hurts. But all the more, what we can take comfort in is that we are in his hands. And as long as we are in the hands of God, we know that that is the best place to be. It requires a level of skill found only in the potter, never in the clay. The clay doesn't do anything to advise the potter. The clay doesn't tell the potter, make sure you make me long. The clay doesn't tell the potter, make sure you make me wide. The clay doesn't tell the potter, I need to be grand. The clay doesn't say anything to the potter. All the clay does is spin on the wheel. All the clay does is just stay in his hands. All the clay does is just allow the potter to do what only the potter can do. Our lives are shaped by the discipline of providence. Our lives are shaped by the circumstances of life. Our lives are shaped by what God uses to make us into what he desires us to be. And the virtue of the fact, I tell you, it's a process. I'm telling you that there's some things along the way where it's ugly. It says that when he was working with the clay, the first vessel was marred in his hands. Now, when we understand marred, that means that it was without perfection. It was damaged. It was messed up. That when he was working with the first pot was messed up in his hands. The first pot was messed up in his hands. But did the potter take the clay and throw it away? Did the potter take his hands off of the messed up pot? Did the potter discard the clay and go find more clay? No, Jeremiah says that it was marred in his hands. And so he kept working with it and made another pot. I'm looking at some folk out here, and I don't care how good you look today, you didn't get that way with one try. I don't care how in order your life is, it didn't get that way in one chance. That all of us, we got messed up somewhere along the way. Everybody in here has failed at something. And you know what? Some of us have failed multiple times. Some of us have messed up a whole bunch of times. Some of us are messed up right now. Some of us got some things out of order. Some of us got some cracks in our lives. We got some blemishes in our lives. We got some imperfection that we see every day. But the truth is this, the potter always has his hands on me. So let me tell you something. Yeah, you may see something crooked in my life. Yeah, you may see something that's less than perfect in my life. Yes, I have made some mistakes in my life, but I am in the hands of the potter. And as long as I'm in his hands, I know that he will make me over again. I don't know what you have been through and where life has taken you, but you stay in God's hands and God can make you over again. Anybody ever been made over again? Anybody not too ashamed? Anybody in here, you're not too holy to testify that I used to be something far different than what I am right now. I used to be a crackhead. I used to be a drug dealer. I used to have no confidence. I used to run the streets. I used to do this. I used to do that. I used to cuss like a sailor. I got problems in my life, but God made me over again. And that's the kind of God that we serve. That God is in the process of shaping. God's not in the process of throwing away. I'm so glad that God is the potter and not some of you. I'm not talking about anybody specifically. But my point is that I've overheard some conversations. I've overheard some of my own conversation. I'm so glad I'm not the potter. Because there have been so many folk I have written off and discarded. Come to find out when I see them again, I don't even recognize them. Don't even know they're the same person. But the reason why? Because the potter made a new pot. And that's how people, you know what? And so when people look at you like, wait a minute, is that, tell them a new pot. Just tell them, yeah, this is my new pot blessing. This is my new pot life. People say the last time I saw you, yep, that's how you saw me, but now I'm a new pot. In fact, it said the last time I saw you, you were on your way, yeah, but now I'm a new pot. In fact, the last so you don't look like you. No, I don't look like I used to look. I'm a new pot now. In fact, some new pots look better than the old pot. Some new pots got better shapes than the old pot. Some new pots got more length than the old pots. Some new pots, them new pots don't have the holes that the old pot had. And so you just tell them the Lord kept his hands on me. So I don't know who I'm talking to right now. People may be telling you ain't no good. You won't be nothing. You can't be nothing. You low down dirty, but you keep on spinning in the master's hand. Keep on turning in his hands. Keep on turning in God's hands. And won't he make you brand new? Won't he make you over? Won't he make you somebody else? Yes, he will. Yes, he will. The life with the potter. It's a journey, y'all. It's not a sprint. It's not instantaneous like digital pictures. It's more like Polaroid. Anybody remember Polaroid pictures? Polaroid, you snap it and it come out. And it come out black, come out white, and you got to wait on it. You don't know what it's going to look like. And let you in on a little secret. This don't speed it up. That don't do nothing. You get that Polaroid picture come out, you start shaking, you start fanning it. You ain't doing nothing. You're just trying to pass the time. But in time, but over time, after a while, by and by, when the morning comes, the image comes in to fruition that after a while, you can shake me all you want, but the Lord is working on me. You can fan me all you want, but the God of the heavens is making me into what he wants me to be. I may not look the way you want me to look, but God knows what he wants me to look like. I may not talk the way you want me to talk, but I'm going to talk the way God got me talking. I may not preach the way you want me to preach, but I'm going to preach the way the Lord gives it to me. I'm going to say it the way the Lord gives it to me to say. And I'm going to holler when I want to holler. I'm going to shout when I want to shout, because the Lord is working in my life. And I'm in his hands. And as long as I'm in his hands, that's the best place to be. I'm in his hands, not your hands. You in his hands, not my hands. Because you see, if you in my hands, last point. Shaping. Shaping belongs to God. The last point is this, that the potter, he always sees the finished piece. That's important. You ever been working on a project and got into it and just got disgusted by what you saw? I mean, it was progress, but you just couldn't take it. You ever started out on something and it looked worse? It looked worse than it did before you started. And when you got in the middle of it, you thought, oh, this was a big mistake here. I can tell you, it's been a couple of projects I call myself working on at home because I saw somebody else do it. I got into it and got nervous. It's like, oh, I think I'm in over my head. Oh, Cassandra gonna be home in a little bit. Looking at the clock, trying to figure this out. Because I've lost sight of the end product. And I've allowed the in-between. I've allowed the present. I've allowed the present to define the future. I've allowed the present to speak for and overshadow potential. That when we are in the hands of the potter is able to appreciate both potential and the present. And sometimes the present does not match the potential. Sometimes the present situation does not reflect or look like the end. And if it were left up to us, we would quit prematurely because we don't like what we see in the present. Never thought about the fact that we had to go through some stuff to get to the end. But God, in his infinite wisdom, is able to see the beginning and the end at the same time. Therefore, God never has to worry about going through a process. God is the process. God is making the process happen. God knows that this gonna hurt right here, but oh, when I'm done, can't nobody mess with you. God is saying, oh, this is not gonna feel good right here, but when it's all said and done, I will make sure that you know that nobody else did this but me. And so the prophet said that the clay was marred in his hands. There was a loss of shape. And you know what? I'm so glad. I'm so glad that God knows what the end looks like. I'm so glad that the same person doing the molding is the one who knows the final picture. Because if the person who knows what the end needs to look like, then he doesn't get upset. He doesn't get anxious in the middle. And so it's all right. We can't help but get anxious, but God is able to see you all the way through it. It's a process, but God knows what the end will look like. Be comforted by that. Don't get discouraged when it gets ugly. Ugly is just a part of the trip. Don't get discouraged when it gets hard, because hard is necessary. Don't get overwhelmed because it looks like it's more than what you can handle. Remember, God never intended for you to handle it on your own. You're in his hands. Remember that God never left you out there by yourself. God is always with us. And while he is with us, he's also actively involved in our lives. So then, when pain comes into your life, God is there holding you and reinforcing you. When sickness enters your body, God is there and God is working and God is using even sickness to get greater glory out of you. That God uses sickness to make you a better you than what you are. You thought that you could be your best self when you had all of your strength. But God said, no, sometimes I got to take a little bit of strength so that I can make even better than what you were before. And so we got some people in here on the other side of sickness. You got better worship. You got better praise. You got better service. You got better faith. You got better understanding. You got better patience. In fact, folk who have been through some stuff, those are the people who I like to hang around, because folk who've been through some stuff, they're not going to judge me. They're not going to beat me down. They're not going to walk on me. They're not going to talk about me, but they're going to encourage me when I hit my ugly spot. And so thank God for your ugly spot. Thank God for your ugly season. Thank God for the times in your life where things just got jacked up, but just know that God knew what he was doing. God brought me out of that, and God can put you back together again, because he knows what the final product looks like. Paul tells the church at Ephesus that we are his workmanship. We are created to do good works, that you are literally God's masterpiece. It was said, spoken to Michelangelo, when he would approach a piece of granite and he wanted to create or carve an angel out of the granite. He wasn't making an angel out of the granite. He was bringing the angel that's in the granite out. So he was chipping away at everything that was an angel. When God sees you, the world may call you a sinner. The world may call you this. The world may call you that. The world may call you a cheat. The world may call you a liar. But the God of heaven says, well, as long as he's in my hands, I'm just going to chip away what's not a sinner. I'm going to chip away all the stuff that I don't want in him. I'm going to take away away all the stuff that I don't like in him. But in him is a man of virtue. In him is a man of valor. In there is a man of purpose. In there is a man of strength. In there is a family man. In there is a man that I know belongs to me. He may not look it right now. You may not approve of him right now, but he's in my hands and not your hands. He may not talk the way you want him to talk right now, but in my hands, I'll take care of that. He may not dress it up the way you want him to dress it up right now, but in my hands, I know what the end is going to look like. So whoever I'm preaching to this morning, you just keep on letting the Lord do what the Lord's doing in your life. Don't apologize, and you don't have to answer to nobody. Just tell him I'm on the wheel right now. I'm in his hands right now. In fact, you need to encourage your brothers and sisters and tell them, stay on the wheel, sister. Stay on the wheel, brother. Let him do his work. You need to tell somebody it's ugly right now, but beauty shall come forth. It's ugly right now, but God can bring beauty out of your ashes. God can make a masterpiece out of your mess. Stay on the wheel and stay in his hands. God's working on all of us. We're all a work in progress. This congregation is a work in progress. I'll be the first to admit that we've got some cracks. We got some flaws. But you know what? God, the potter didn't throw away the clay that was marred in his hands. All he did was just made another one. Well, we got a few blemishes, but we're in God's hands. And he's not going to throw us away. But God specializes in making new stuff. Why can't we be a new hope? Why can't you be a new you? Why can't you be a new father, a new mother, a new servant? Why can't you? Back in the 90s, V. Michael McKay wrote a song. The title of it was called The Potter's House. And his lyrics were, in case you've fallen by the wayside of life, in the shape that you're in, because the potter wants to put you back together again. The chorus says, you who are broken, stop by the potter's house. You who need mending, stop by the potter's house. Give him the fragments of your broken life, my friend. The potter wants to put you back together again. You who need mending, stop by the potter's house. You who are broken, stop by the potter's house. Give him the fragments of your broken life. Potter wants to put you back together again. Y'all ready now? Huh? Y'all ready? Who was that? Was that Kim? Sylvia? Who? Somebody got it. We ain't gonna go nowhere till somebody sing it. So we ain't gonna know what somebody's singing. Oh yeah. I heard from the Lord. The Spirit told me. Oh yeah. Listen to this song.
Together your situation has turned.